has spent 2 genders and lots of hours, and I can still only play one instrument. See, this is why I couldn't go on the Brony roast panel, because every single one of them would just be like, "You have one thing and one thing only. Can you have that? No one would know who the hell you are." And I would be like, "It's."
I have many things and no one knows who I am.
Hey,
Mostly because
your name is George.
It's better. No, it's George.
Oh, George. That's fantastic. I love that.
No, main thing is you're really good at one thing. I'm mediocre at many things. I can play a lot of instruments, poorly.
You just be like me in your country music and you don't need to do it.
That's the same thing I say about jazz.
And you can lip sync like a god.
You're just 2 notes away from the right note.
Jazz is fantastic because if you miss every single note, they clap.
Yeah. That's what I did for 20% Funkier, and he never noticed. I mean, what are you talking about? I meant every note I played.
Yeah.
That's true. It's replaceable or repairable.
I don't know what's going on with my computer this convention. It is just...
It hates you.
Yeah.
Golly, man.
It's being temperamental.
I'm just curious how rough did they handle it during airport security? They could have fried something.
Well, lots of different things. Yeah.
Did they send it through the super ultra high powered?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it flipped every single bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it is 5 years old, so I probably
not 2019.
That's not old.
But I essentially took
I mean, my desktop has lasted longer than this.
and
My
just
desktop is
added
7, my
like
laptop is
replacement
like
blobs
9 now.
Thing.
Actually, the desktop is
And,
a very number of ages depending on the component.
We have a horse right there, actually, right? Is that what the black horse is? Yeah, horse. Horse.
I am George.
Hi, George.
Are you a horse? No, I'm George.
Now,
I'm
are you
George.
curious, your band?
Oh.
No, you can say, please, we need you.
He's not curious anymore.
Got it all fixed.
Curiosity killed the George.
Oh no.
I'm just doing that.
What's up? I'm Curiosity.
Let me take my leave. You guys have fun.
And I think the stack roasting panel's begun.
Greetings. My name is SaxPon.
Greetings, victims. I mean, guests.
I'm back again.
My name is SaxPon.
I'm
I am
leaving
joined
again.
by the illustrious BlueBrony and so incredible Scarlet Fury. My
I like how
pronouns
you-
are she, her, they, them. If anyone else cares, I hope you do. Please be nice.
Please be nice to her.
Yes, I'm but a small angry child.
With a loud instrument.
Yes, I will blow out your eardrums. I will not actually do that. I don't have the money to pay for the hospitals.
Because it's America. America! Medical tech! So thank you all for coming to our panel. This is how to get involved with the Brony music community. If this isn't the class that you signed up for, make sure you go out into the hall.
I'm all but equal.
No, wait, come back, please stand.
Let's see this. There we go. So who are we? My name is BlueBrony. I have been a Brony musician since 2015, and I'm a contributor to several different fandom compilation albums, and I've collaborated with several different pony musicians over the years.
And I'm Scarlet Fury. I've been a content creator, YouTube creator since like 2010. Recently getting involved in a lot of different pony projects as well as some outside projects.
And I know I'm not out there, but my name is SaxPon. I've been in this fandom since 2012. I'm an old Brony. And I've been doing music pretty much since I started going to conventions, which was 2013. And I've since collabed with a bunch of different people, including Blue, and Forever Free and a couple others. Yeah, y'all probably mostly know me from just the shenanigans I do around conventions.
I'm probably the newest one here. I've only been involved in the fandom since 2016.
Yeah. So we've got a nice like swath of people with various levels of experience to kind of help give us a unique perspective. And even though Saxophone wasn't on the billing for today, I just invited her on because she seemed like she was a cool person and had lots of neat perspectives on things. So, yeah. Alrighty. So, the first thing you can do to get involved in the Brony music community, the easiest thing you can do, is listen to pony music.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Wow!
Whoa. All
What a
right.
concept.
So, there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of pony songs to be found on the internet. Ever since the fandom was born, there's been music made, and you can find tracks on YouTube, on Spotify, on Bandcamp, which is a website, social media, and here at conventions. As a matter of fact, there's so much music out there. It's almost like there's like a whole ginormous ocean of music out there.
In fact, if you really wanted to dive all hardcore and listen to everything at once, well, maybe not at once, but listen to everything, you can go to Equestria Daily. They've got a whole music tab which has music throughout the history of the fandom, all the way back from when it started. And that was the place to post music.
Yeah, historically.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to 2011. Yeah, it's basically a blog post, and so they only have like blog posts with like a few tracks on it on each one, and like half of the ones from 2011 are sadly no longer available on YouTube, but you can still find a lot of historical music there.
Some of those OG musicians have since like taken down their stuff, but there's a lot that are still on there. I mean, like obviously Yerby Brony, a lot of her stuff is still up and available for you to find if you want to see her old stuff. And like there's still some other musicians who don't really do pony music anymore, but they used to, and it's still up there.
Absolutely. So there was one time there was like a giant called Pony Music Archive. You might have heard of. Unfortunately, that website did eventually go. That project ended because the person was saying it was just too much to maintain.
Well, since we're on the topic of old pony musicians, why don't we each name like one old musician that we like?
Old musician. Ooh, man. Go
So
back.
for me, I know a lot of people would say something like Wooden Toaster or like Yerby Brony, but for me, it would actually be a guy named Aviators back in the day.
I agree.
Aviators had some really good, fun stuff, and he just had a really great voice and a good spirit behind all the songs. His new stuff is also fantastic, but like his old Phantom stuff had a certain vibe to it.
Yeah, actually, I would agree. Same exact musician I would choose. I think I'm trying to remember which track it was. There was one track that just really hit me emotionally. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah, but they're really good stuff.
All right. So since I kind of only really got started in fandom in 2015, probably one of the first tracks from when I started getting into the fandom that really hit me was Forever Free Brony's Chanted Immortality.
That's another good one. Yes,
Absolutely classic. Classic.
that one still makes me cry.
So that's the ocean. Have you ever tried drinking the ocean? It's impossible. Actually, don't try it.
It's also very salty.
It's very deadly. But let's say you don't necessarily want to dive into the archaeological dig of 2011 or 2012 music. You can instead just try and keep up with what's coming out right now. So I like to call this the fire hose. Luck Rock is, he's the concert manager for this and, like 100 other conventions. I kind of consider him Mr. Brony Music because he takes it upon himself to keep up with what's the modern Brony music. As a matter of fact, I don't know if any of y'all went to his panel, Modern Brony Music.
Did he have another one?
Yeah, he did yesterday.
Damn, should've gone.
Yep.
It was really fun. The ones I've been to in the past, I didn't get to go to it this year because I was doing this panel.
Or the previous panel.
Yeah, the previous panel we did. Anyways, Luck Rock currently is maintaining on YouTube playlists where every single pony track for the month that he is aware of, he puts on that playlist. And so you literally have, August 2020, September 2020, and each playlist will have somewhere between anywhere from 50 to like 150 videos just from artists posting pony music. And so if you want to just be able to keep up with everything that's coming out right now, that's probably one of the best ways to hear all of the pony music. Also, another thing you can do is tune in to Brony radio stations, internet radio stations. The biggest one, of course, being Ponyville FM. They often do a lot of stuff, including like some album release parties and stuff like that. And they usually have a very nice selection of kind of older but also new stuff.
Yeah.
How do you get to those stations again?
It's just a website.
Yeah, it's-
PonyvilleFM.com, I think.
Yeah, PonyvilleFM.com.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not on the actual radio.
I think it may also be on Ponyville Live.
Okay.
Oh, is Ponyville Live still
Yes.
live?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's mainly like a life support former show itself, but it is at least a directory of like radio
I used to have a
stations.
profile on
That
Yeah, I
some
I
of
did
them
too.
might be broken on the Ponyville Live, but it's gonna be around.
Gotcha.
Also Pony FM, I think.
Oh yeah, Pony FM is another one.
Yeah, it's still going on. I think it's just more indie artists. Like, I mean, I don't want to say you guys like big artists.
Yeah, I was about to say,
More like
we're all
one or-
indie artists
one or
here.
two- one or two viewers, kind of indie, like one or two people actually listening, kind of artists.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Oh my god, everyone, it's the real do the damn do.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So yeah, that's the fire hose if you just want to hear as much of the modern Brony music that's coming out right now.
And then next up is the garden hose, so a little less, narrowing down the scope of things. So first off, there's fandom compilation albums like Ponies of Dawn, State of Sugar, Live Ponies, Equinity. These are albums that many musicians submit to, and then they go through a judging process, and they get released pretty regularly. Although there's some that like go silent for a little bit, but they come back.
I think Ponies at Dawn is fairly annual.
Yeah.
Twice a year,
Yeah.
pretty reliably, Ponies of Dawn puts out an album. The State of Sugar is like once or twice a year. Five Ponies that's about once a year, and Equinity about once a year.
Yeah.
And those are usually like some of the more like featured tracks. A lot of artists will kind of, if they're working on 3 or 4 different tracks, they'll try and put their best track onto a compilation album usually. And so if you want like kind of some more highlights, a little bit more spaced out, that's a good way.
And there's lots of different genres on there too. Like you might find something that you like from a genre that you don't normally listen to, and you're like, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, like the most recent album, Wanderlust, Blue and I made, with a bunch of other people, made a funk jazz song. And then the one immediately after that is like a medieval fair EDM song. And then there's also like metal symphony in there. So there's a wide variety of music. There's something in those albums for everyone.
Yeah, including some artists that like you literally won't hear anywhere else because they basically just do the compilation albums.
Yeah.
But they're really good. They're all really good.
Absolutely. So, if even that kind of sounds like, that's kind of a lot, or you're talking about 6 or 7 albums every year, that's kind of a lot to take in. You can instead go for just a classic big gulp. And so there are 2 kind of sources for that. One is, there is a website called Horse Music Herald, which is run by the community, and it's a fandom website dedicated to supporting and spotlighting modern Brony music, and including some historical ones sometimes as well. They put out articles on a fairly regular basis, a few times a month. It's basically a curated blog of notable Brony music. And so if you just want to kind of get a little bit more picky with what you want to hear, that's a pretty good site. It's also very searchable, so if you're looking for a specific artist or a specific genre, that's a good thing to check it out.
There's even like, when Blue says that you can search it, I found MLP Power Metal on there, which was cool.
Absolutely. And another kind of interesting thing to check out is something called the Equestrian Selection, which is a series of playlists run by Skyshard. And basically the way that works, it's an open playlist, so it's not, there's no judging involved. It's just, if an artist wants to put a song on the playlist, it goes on the playlist. So you kind of get a very neat little cross-section of both really popular MLP artists and then like people like you've never heard of before. So they are playlists on YouTube and on Spotify. And this playlist will have something around 50 or so videos on there. And what happens is every few days or so, they will update the playlist with whoever submitted again, and then they take off the old ones. So it regularly cycles through. You get a nice kind of mixture, and it changes over time. So if you just kind of want to know, okay, what's the, give me 50 random songs, and that's a good place to check it out.
I would also like to shill for Sky Shard. She is awesome. It creates great music. I recently collabed with her on like a little Christmas themed EP, so go check that out.
Nice ones.
And last but not least, the sparkling water, the tiny little glass of water.
Oh, there we go. That's better.
All right. So every month, the Top Brony Music YouTube channel posts the results of basically a little competition where everybody can vote for their favorite music tracks. Gives you a little bit of an idea of what the most popular tracks are. There's a lot of Prince Whatever and
Forever Free Brony.
Forever Free Brony, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like what's the most popular artists each month and what have they released. Generally is how it turns out. Sometimes you have a few surprises on there, but it's like if you just want to know what's the most popular, that's a pretty good source. Roughly. Alrighty. So after talking about just listening to Pony music, what's the next step? Well, support Brony musicians.
That's us.
And lots of people at this convention.
yes.
Both on stage and off stage. So, what's the easiest way to do that? The first thing you can do is like, comment, and subscribe.
Hit that bell. Hit the bell.
And ring the bell.
Yes.
And I mean, this is, seriously talking about it, most of us Brony musicians here, we post on YouTube and we'll get like a handful of views, most of us. And those comments that are left with people who are saying, oh my gosh, I love this, or things like that, that stuff is like a shot in the arm. Let me tell you what, it is. It
makes our day.
It absolutely does. And also, doing those sorts of things like commenting and subscribing boosts the video in the algorithm, which means that more people are more likely to see it. So it is a free and easy way to support a musician, especially if you like their song. Another thing you can do is follow, retweet, and share. This refers to just following on social media. If you have an artist that you like, most of them have a social media presence somewhere, whether it's Twitter, maybe Mastodon, maybe Facebook, I don't know.
Sometimes Tumblr.
Sometimes Tumblr.
Not me.
And so that's just a good way to kind of peek behind the curtain, maybe interact in a more personal level. You get to see a little bit more what they're like, and also usually that's a good way to figure out when a musician is about to perform for something, so you can catch that.
And sometimes they even release little sneak peeks of what they're working on, so you can get a little taste of what's to come.
Yeah, all sorts of little gimmicks and fun stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I posted on my Twitter today a little picture of us rehearsing and stuff.
Nice.
You always be plugging. Okay. Now the next thing you can do is you can open your hearts and your wallets for your fellow musicians, buying music and merch.
Buy some music.
For those musicians who do offer ways for you to support them financially, one of the most common ways is through purchasing downloads of the music through websites such as Bandcamp. Bandcamp, as is bandcamp.com, is probably one of the most friendly sites right now for indie musicians. And it's basically, most of them, they'll have like an album. That's where all the compilation albums are on Bandcamp. And most of them will have either it'll be like a name your price type of situation, or they'll have a very reasonable price for a full album on there. And from the artist perspective, artists get way more of a cut on Bandcamp than they do from any kind of streaming. I know, speaking from experience, I've gotten literally hundreds of dollars more revenue from Bandcamp than I ever have from Spotify or YouTube. So that's probably like the way to get the most bang for your buck. If you want to support a musician financially, is through downloading. Also, conventions are a great place to purchase physical merch from musicians. As a matter of fact, the musicians table is out there in front, always be plugging. And there's all sorts of, musicians and all CDs and stickers and all sorts of fun stuff. There's even some free stuff out there, so you should go check it out.
Speaking of Bandcamp though, every first Friday of the month is Bandcamp Friday, in which, well,
It wasn't for January.
well, most months, okay, my apologies. Bandcamp Friday, which essentially, instead of Bandcamp taking a cut, I believe it's like the majority, if not all, of the money that you pay goes to the artist instead.
Yeah, payment processor still takes a cut.
Yeah.
But it's a much like
Bandcamp's
reduced
lower rate.
Yeah.
Bandcamp itself will waive its fees for that day.
Yeah.
which is very good for the artist.
Yeah, it's a nice another little boost. And finally, another thing you can do is come to the concerts. There are concerts happening all the time all over the United States, whether at conventions, such as Convention Main Stage. There was a concert last night. There's a concert tonight. Always be plugging. There is another opportunity to listen to music is at Renegade Stages. And of course, Renegade Stages is, they're not like the Frontline building, but just about any Brony musician can sign up on that. And so you can kind of hear, if you need more music in your life, Renegade Stage is a great place. Also a great place to find up and coming musicians who are working on their craft and trying to get their name out there. And finally, another place where you can find concerts is online. There's all sorts of online concerts happening throughout the year. Hanging out on, what's the name of that?
Ponytown.
Ponytown, thank you. Yeah, Ponytown. It's a lot of fun.
And some musicians even do like their own like sets on their Twitch streams. I know that Odyssey Yearbeat does sets every so often on her stream, which they're always fun.
Yeah, and I think Drummerside does some shows a few times a year.
Yep.
And finally, another thing you can do just to support Brony musicians, I call this bullet point promote music, but really there's like two things that I mainly think of. One is, I mentioned Horse Music Herald. Horse Music Herald is run by the community. And so if you're someone who's passionate about music in the community, the Horse Music Herald is always looking for writers and contributors. So if you want to be able to have the power to spotlight a normally overlooked musician, then maybe consider volunteering for that. Another thing is, we mentioned the top Brony music of the month. Well, that is actually a voting process. It's based on community votes. And so they always put an announcement when they say, okay, voting is open for January 2023, or something like that. And so I would highly encourage you, if you are someone who's passionate about the community, you can go and vote for, pick your top 10 favorite songs that came out, or even, top 2 or 3. You don't have to fill out all 10. And it's kind of neat that there's a little bit of synergy here. Luck Rock's monthly playlist is often is linked on that voting page, so you don't have to go and find all the different videos. They're all right there on the playlist for you. But right now, with the top Brony music polls, the difference between first place and 10th place on the polls is usually, on the order of maybe 5 to 10 votes. It's very close. So right now, if voting in the top Brony music, you have a pretty strong voice, unlike in certain other elections.
And next, you can make your own music. So, how do you do that? 3 easy steps: make a song, make new words and stuff, record it, produce it, and then publish it. Well, there's a little bit more involved than that. The easiest way is probably if you're good at playing an instrument, piano, guitar, drums, those are the most common ones.
Saxophone.
Or saxophone.
Or
yes.
saxophone.
Yeah.
The more familiar you are with an instrument, the easier it is to get started. You can play some tunes, come up with something that way. And you can record it with your phone or webcam. That's the easiest way to get yourself started. It's cheap, it's easy.
That's actually how Do the Daring Do got started, was he just recorded himself on his iPad.
Yep. The only con with that is it's lower audio quality. So if you're looking to invest a little bit, you can record with your computer and a USB mic. A lot of musicians or a lot of Twitter people are like, oh, USB mics aren't that great, but honestly, I'm getting started with just a USB mic. Blue Yeti is a particularly good one.
Yeah. Both of the a bunch of the songs that I've collabed with people on that I've made it into different albums or even #1 spot in the top 10, I recorded on USB mics. So all those weird elitist nerds can shove it.
Yeah, for the first couple or 3 years, I was recording using my laptop and a Blue Yeti microphone, so USB microphone. So those are actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Pretty decent.
the only con there is if you feel like screaming your heart out or recording really harsh rock vocals, the USB mics do kind of peak a bit, and there is a little limitation there.
There are workarounds though. You can adjust the levels in your computer system. That can only take you so far though.
Yeah, and at that point, it's probably best to invest in a more standard setup, which is your computer and then an XLR microphone, which requires an interface to plug it into. Like these ones.
Yep.
Because otherwise the computer, it doesn't hook up to the computer by itself. It needs that interface. That is a little more complicated and expensive, but once you're ready to get going full in, that's the way to go.
Recording using XLR mics and some sort of digital to analog audio converter or interface is kind of the standard way that people record music these days.
Yeah, I'm probably going to invest in that at some point soon here. And then software. There's 3 basic categories of software, although the last one kind of ties into the other 2. And that's music notation software, your digital audio workstation, and virtual instrument libraries. But if you're just starting off basic, Audacity is your friend. It's a free audio software that lets you manipulate audio and record audio, and you can do most everything with it, but there's some details that you might need the other side.
It really is very powerful. It has built-in effects, and also, I use it. I like to use Audacity sometimes, just for recording basic things, or just recording vocals, or recording a podcast even. But it is limited in some ways, especially if you want to work with MIDI instruments and stuff like that.
I will say for live instruments, it's pretty decent. All of the stuff that I've recorded for songs and whatnot, I've only ever used Audacity. And it works. It does what you need it to do.
Indeed.
Yep. And so, as far as MIDI instruments goes, you've got your music notation software. This is more used for classical, jazz, orchestral instruments because it produces sheet music, which is helpful if you're going to record with live musicians who can read sheet music. It does have some limited synthesized sounds, but the last thing on that list, virtual instrument libraries, some music notation softwares do support those as well, so you can get better sounds. But the easiest way to work with virtual instruments is through a digital audio workstation. Those are specifically designed programs to work with music.
Yeah, it's the Photoshop with music.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it, yeah.
Cost just.
Well, that depends.
Yeah.
The cost can actually be anywhere from basically free to, oh my gosh, why would you spend that much money?
Yes.
There is a free DAW, it's called LMMS, and I'm pretty sure Radio Rack used it for pretty much everything you need.
Oh, that's awesome. There you go.
Cool.
LMMS. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I'd have to look it up.
That's cool, yeah.
Also, if you have a Mac, GarageBand's free.
Yeah.
So,
And that's pretty powerful too.
And then the virtual instrument libraries, these are essentially libraries of instruments that are sampled or recorded or created that you can plug into your digital audio workstation and work with MIDI to create all sorts of different kinds of music. I typically use East-West's instrument libraries, the Composer Cloud. That runs at about $15 a month as a subscription, but it gives you access to like over 40,000 different Hollywood sampled orchestras, rock bands, all sorts of stuff, and it's really good
I
stuff.
will say, that is the only library where I've heard a decent pre-recorded synthesized saxophone. Like, it's the only library where I've heard a decent synth saxophone. Otherwise, I will always recommend live, but
Yeah.
you have to go with that.
The virtual instrument libraries are basically kind of like an add-on to a DAW, digital audio workstation. Most DAWs have some instruments built in that you can make tracks. As a matter of fact, my first track was made entirely with the instruments that was within the DAW that I downloaded. And so, either way, it's a very powerful tool, and there are literally thousands of virtual instrument libraries out there, and some of them are very fun. Like, I have one called Elvish Choir from Sound Iron, and it's basically just some singers who huffed helium and then just going, "Ah!" Stuff like that, and like singing Christmas carols.
That was a very different direction. I thought this was supposed to be like, I think like high fantasy elves. I was like,
Oh, no.
some like Tolkien-esque samples.
Not that kind of elf.
All right, another thing you need to consider is the hardware, your PC specs. When starting out, use what you have. It's the cheapest, it's the easiest, but that does come with some limitations, and notably on if you're using a digital audio workstation especially, you might need some more power. And so when you're ready to invest in something bigger, a gaming computer is a good start, but that also focuses more on graphics, so that might also be a little more expensive. But really what you need to focus on is whether you want to use a Mac or a PC, the debate goes on, or your CPU, that's another important aspect. You want, in general, higher processor speeds, because then your computer can process all that live musical data faster. And then, in general, you also want more cores, and if possible, hyper-threading. I know that's only doable with Intel CPUs. Basically what that means is it'll have multiple ways to process that data at the same time.
I feel a little subconscious because I know there are some very smart computer people in this room.
Yeah, it's okay. I know nothing about computers. I just have a gaming computer and I downloaded Audacity.
Do you need a nerd?
What?
Yes.
Do you need a nerd?
If you have some insight, you feel free to share it.
I
Yeah.
build computers for fun.
Oh, wow.
Oh, awesome.
Alrighty, so tell us, what do you think we need for, what we should look out for specs when we're trying to make a computer for making music?
Literally, as long as you have a core of anything relatively modern or better, then you can use any DAW up to like running multiple instances of like Contact, one of those instrument libraries.
Mm-hmm.
You only need like only 4 cores of anything modern. RAM, 8 gigabytes, definitely. It all works. You say Mac or PC, I use Linux.
Oh, that's true.
It all works.
The third-
I have LMMS, it's on all of it. So
That's
that
true.
works too.
Are you a boy or a girl? I'm Linux.
Facts. But hyper-threading, it's on basically everything. So
Oh.
it's definitely, as of Ryzen, so all those the new AMD Zen processors,
Sweet.
that's on everything. That's why I say as long as you have 4 cores of literally anything within the last 5 years, you're good.
Cool.
Very nice.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for your
Thank you.
insight, Shelby Shot. So the only other thing that we want to touch is storage.
Yes, working with music creates very large uncompressed files. In general, you want as much storage as you can get because those files will take up lots of space. We're talking 500 gigabytes minimum. I have several terabytes on my desktop and they keep getting full because of how much space music takes. If you
We
can
also record podcasts, like
and YouTube videos,
in
yeah.
YouTube videos.
Yeah,
I'll do
that
it.
also takes up a lot of space. But solid-state drives are generally your best bet because they're the fastest, especially if you're looking into the type of solid-state drive that plugs directly into your motherboard. Those are called NVMe drives. Those will transfer the data at much faster speeds. But of course, they're also a little more expensive, so cons and pros weigh them out.
So one thing I will say about solid state drives, please just do get one. When I was working with hard drives, my computer would take like 25 minutes to boot up. So get a
I
solid
think
state.
you needed a new computer.
Oh no, I did get one, but like even when it still took at least 5 minutes back in the day. So like, but with a solid state drive, it'll boot up within a minute.
Yeah, it's very
Sometimes
fast.
30 seconds.
Yeah, my laptop used to only have a hard drive, and it would take like 15 minutes to load all my east-west libraries, versus my desktop, which has plenty of solid-state drives, it only takes maybe 2 minutes. So it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah. I don't know the specifics, but apparently it just streamlines the loading process.
Yep. And last but not least, promote your music. Once you create it, upload it to YouTube, post it on social media, submit it to the compilation albums. Even if you don't make it to the compilation albums, the judges will provide you with very valuable feedback that you can use to improve, to hone your craft, and then submit it to the other playlists, like Luck Rock's monthly playlist.
Yeah. Well, the Luck Rock's monthly playlist isn't, as long as he's aware of you, it will be on the playlist. And the question and selection, though, you do have to fill out a form, but I mean, there's no judging involved. But yeah, definitely, if you're making music, don't expect to have fans overnight. You have to kind of play the promotion game. And also, one of the biggest ways to help promote your music is by putting on concerts. So, this is kind of like the flip side of what we were talking about for if you're supporting a Brony musician. If you want to promote yourself as a Brony musician, putting on concerts is a good way to gain notoriety. First off, online and streaming concerts. There are several that happen throughout the year. You'll hear about them on social media. And the barrier of entry to getting onto one of those concerts, I would say, is low to medium. There's the technology aspect. Some people do live streams. I personally, when I've done online concerts, and I know a lot of people who do this, they record offline previously, and then they just have a video, and they, the whole set was still live. It's just that it was pre-recorded, and so. This is a good way to kind of like, hey, I've never heard this person before. Oh, they're on Ponytown. Oh, they're kind of cool. I like their music. Another thing, the Convention Renegade stage. It's a smaller venue at a bigger event because there's lots of musicians hanging out here. The barrier of entry to get on Renegade stage is low. You literally just sign up for a time slot, and this is a good way to kind of cut your teeth to gain experience with just performing or just having fun and hanging out with musicians. It's a relatively small exposure, small audience, but at the same time, it's a good place to kind of mingle and network. Finally, probably the biggest point of promotion is if you manage to get onto the main stage. This is the biggest spotlight in the fandom is when you get to perform on main stage. The barrier to entry, depending on the convention, is either medium to very high. If any of you were following HarmonyCon on social media, there was a post saying that there were 53 musicians who applied for this con specifically, which is a record not only for that con, but for just about any con for a number of musicians who applied. So it was a very tough to get into a spot. I'm not trying to humble brag. I'm trying to
lay down the reality.
Lay down the realities. Getting onto the main stage is probably one of the hardest things to do. However, it is very rewarding if you can.
I would like to add something that's not on there. And this is specifically for instrumentalists like me. If you play an instrument, bring it to a con. Play around. I got to where I am playing on the stage with the Wonderbolts and everything because in 2013, I thought it would be funny if I brought my saxophone and played Awoken by Wooden Toaster. And then people just started noticing me. I just started playing memes for like a good 6 years. And then at BronyCon 2019, Galen walks up to me while I'm in the vendor hall and goes, "Hey, Sax, you want to join our set from Brony Palooza?" And I was like, hell yeah, I do. And then ever since then, I've been working with a bunch of different people. So like, honestly, if you just bring your instrument, play around, don't take it too seriously, just have fun, people will notice you. They'll be like, oh, hey, this person sounds great. I could use them for X song, you know?
Absolutely. My first experience on the main stage was Nightmare Nights 2017. I was invited to play keys on Luck Rock's set. And then, as I was playing keys on Luck Rock's set, Dude the Daring Do also happened to be playing that year, and he asked me, like, the same day, hey, do you want to play on my set? Okay, sure.
Yeah, I will add, it is a little scary when that happens.
Yeah, it is a little scary, but I tell you what, it was. I'm very thankful for them for that chance that came. So yeah.
This is kind of related to what I was saying.
Exactly. It's a good segue, actually.
Yeah.
Connecting with other musicians. I mean, that's kind of one of my favorite things about this con. Yeah, I was talking this one. You're right. So, ways to connect with other musicians. Get involved. Support Brony Musician section. Getting on social media, coming to conventions, coming to concerts, like, comment, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. Applying to the compilation album servers. There's Discord servers. That's what we're talking about here. Discord servers are a great place to interact with other musicians, and one of the so I want to highlight Luck Rock's Discord server, which is, it's pretty open. It's a kind of an open invitation to join. Luck Rock's server, they have a music night once a week where they listen to every single new pony track that came out that week.
What?
If it's on YouTube. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is that the jar or is that the different one?
That's the jar,
Okay.
yeah. Oh no.
I didn't know that was the name.
Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate name, but great, but still a great server, and they do other fun stuff as well. It's kind of a neat little online hangout spot. And then, like I said, each of the big compilation albums, they have their own Discord servers, which are good places just to interact, get feedback, hype, other fun stuff like that. And then another thing you can do while you're at a convention, especially, is what I like to call intentional friending. Exactly. It's not networking; it's intentional friending. So, indeed, conventions is one of the best places to talk with musicians and to interact, to learn, and just gush over all sorts of things, nerd out. I love talking to people. That's one of my favorite things about coming to conventions, is just talking with people and meeting other musicians and asking people at the last minute to do stuff with you, or inviting them on, to do stuff.
Like panels, last minute.
Like panels, last minute, exactly. Another thing you can do is, if you are someone who's making music and you're trying to kind of gain a little bit more notoriety, is asking for feedback from a musician that you look up to or trust. A lot of, do I have a slide on that? We can talk about in the notes a bit. So we'll go a little bit more into that. But if you have a track, it's like, man, I love this track, but I want to know how to make it better. One of the easiest ways to do that is to ask for feedback from another musician. Most of the musicians in this fandom are really open to giving feedback, and we're really supportive. We're all about being a community here. I don't want to talk too much because we're going into the next slides.
All right, so some things you need to keep in mind that you should not do. Don't complain about other success. Envy is a dangerous emotion, and it can become toxic if you spread it around, especially on social media. That can get you a negative reputation, and that's not good. If you need to vent, do it with a close friend that you trust, and hopefully they'll understand.
What I will say about that, I do want to hop in. So earlier, I kind of told only half the side of the story about how I got started. Back in 2013, 2014, I kind of was obsessed with making it big. which it was very evident to the people that I was with at the time, and it kind of put them off from wanting to actually doing anything with it, because it was very obvious that all they wanted to do was use them to make it big. And so eventually just the lack of response while still wanting that response made me extremely bitter and envious. And so eventually I had an epiphany. I was like, you know what? I had more fun when I was just playing music and people were enjoying it and having fun. You know what? Forget making it big. I'm just gonna focus on having fun at these conventions and entertaining people. Lo and behold, as soon as I stopped being obsessed with making it big, people actually noticed the passion I had and was like, hey, you wanna work with us? So that really is super important. Don't obsess over the fame. Horse fame is fake anyways.
Yes.
So true.
Horse fame is no fame at all.
Horse fame is fake, mares are real.
Yes, it's miracles. All right, and then don't act entitled or arrogant. That will also put people off. You are not the center of attention. You're not the center of the music world. You got to spread that evenly and respect everyone else. And then don't steal or plagiarize. This is the biggest one.
Oh God.
This will get you nowhere. Everyone will start like, they just won't respect you anymore because they're like, can you actually make anything? Like, you're just taking everybody else's.
You'll think you're being slick. We will notice.
Yeah.
Everyone will notice.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely horror stories of musicians in the fandom who it came out that they were doing something where they were either hiring ghostwriters while still claiming to be the ones who made all the tracks, or there were even sometimes where it's a nobody that I've never heard of before, where they just straight up re-uploaded a musician's whole songs and then like interacted on YouTube acting like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed making this song. And it's like, wow, I never want to work with you ever, ever, ever. So that's kind of like one of the biggest ways to get blacklisted in the community is if you steal or plagiarize music from and claim to be the author.
Yep.
Re-uploads is not necessarily a bad thing. People, there's something to be said that every Brony musician is a pirate, in a sense, but even pirates have rules, yar.
One thing I will say, though, just sort of as a subsection under don't act entitled, at the same time, don't put yourself down too much. If you constantly call your stuff shit, people will be very off put by that. I sort of struggle with that. I have what I like to call little sibling syndrome. I always assume that everyone around me in a project or in a room is better at what I do and understands more than I do, even when that's not the case. Have a little bit of confidence. Like, you know what you're good at.
That's a good segue into the do's.
Ah.
Indeed. So we gave you a browbeating, but now we're gonna turn it into the positive side. These are things you should do to help as an aspiring pony musician wanting to grow. Do support your fellow musicians. This is a community, not a cabal. This is why I love being part of the Brony music community and the Brony fandom, is because the music community has just been so wholesome and like interacting and getting to play with the band that I've idolized for several years. Hi, Galen.
Hi, Galen. That's the guy who invited me to play at Palooza, by the way. He's awesome.
Indeed. And opportunities for collaborations happen all the time. Friendship really is magic.
Koa at every concert is like online is the hype person for every single person who goes up. It's awesome.
Yeah, she does a really good job with that. Also, Drake has been a fixture of the community for just like supporting Brony musicians and like really hyping them up. Do experiment and try new things. Don't be afraid to try something and it not sound as good as you hoped it would, because music making is a craft, and so just like an artist, we all start somewhere. Take the opportunities to learn and grow and find your sound. And finally, do ask for feedback. Did you have?
Oh, yeah. I frequently experiment with different genres and different instruments, and even trying things that are like, whoa, that's wacky. Because it's so fun. Like, you can just choose an instrument that nobody would think of for a particular genre, or you can try a genre that you don't normally touch at all. And even if you don't do it very well, at least you're learning how those sort of genres are constructed, and you can respect other musicians for that, even if that may not suit your style in the long run.
Yeah. And like, if you're, and again, I can only speak from an instrumentalist perspective, but like, try using your instrument for genres that most people wouldn't expect. Like, when people see me, they think that I probably do lots of jazz. And I do. I enjoy playing jazz. However, saxophone is a very versatile instrument. I've seen it used in Eurobeat. I've seen it used in metal, rock, pop, punk. Like, you can use like any instrument for nearly any genre. So like, give it a shot. You never know.
I once made a kind of mediocre house track, to be honest, but the main instrument was an accordion because it was about cheese sandwich. And that was it was very cheesy. Finally, probably one of the biggest ways to like level up as a musician is asking for feedback. You know, like I said, many musicians are happy to give feedback or advice, and helpful feedback is one of the fastest ways to improve, because oftentimes you need somebody to sit you down and say, listen, I like this, I don't like this, you probably need to work on that. Learning to accept criticism is a valuable life skill. If you can take those words, which sometimes hurt, you know, my music is my baby, and so I don't want nobody to call my baby ugly.
Anyone here like an artist, visual artist, digital? Yeah, yep. Y'all know what it's like.
It's very much it's a skill to learn to take constructive criticism and use it to improve. But if you can take that to heart, and while at the same time not beating yourself up, that's another thing. Don't fall into the other side of that trap.
It's a fine line.
It is a fine line. Learning, just accepting it as a learning experience, and then taking your next opportunity to learn and grow. That is by far the fastest way to improve.
Mm-hmm. Essentially, don't believe you're the shit, but also don't believe you're shit.
We'll take that t-shirt.
Very nice.
All right, so to wrap things up, just remember the following things. All of us are imperfect people or ponies, and we all have our flaws, we all have our issues. All of us are also weirdos and nerds about something, so if you don't feel like you fit in, there's chances are somewhere you will. Respect people's boundaries. This is an important one. If you repeatedly cross people's boundaries, they're not likely to want to be with you. And then treat others the way you want to be treated. The golden rule. Simple and straight.
Absolutely. These are, you know, this is all about friendship, you know? Because I would rather interact and collab with friends than with peers. If you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
So, thank you all for attending this panel. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, right there.
A couple. Just so when it comes to motivation, you were saying like if you feel like don't feel like you're shit, and you know, but try and become better by just practicing a lot. How do you continue to revitalize your own motivation when you make a track and you're like, this sucks and I need to come back to it later? How do you come back to it later?
So, what I tend to do is, say I'm, you know, when I was working on TPF, that's a good example.
20% funkier.
20% funkier in the Wanderlust album. Get it? Got a show. Like, you probably doesn't know this, but that took multiple days of tries and recording because I kept getting frustrated that this didn't sound the way that I wanted it to. And originally I tried doing it in just one day. That didn't work because eventually I was just stuck in the cycle of this sounds like crap, this sounds like crap, this sounds like crap. When you're in that cycle, you need to take a step back and realize, I need to stop for the day. If I keep going, it's just gonna keep being bad. Come back to it with a fresh set of ears, new mindset, fresh mindset, and see if you know, you can hear something you didn't last time because you were so focused on your negative emotions, right?
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot. Something else to consider is listen to other musicians. Like sometimes you might be stuck on a track and not know where to take it, and then all of a sudden you hear something that you're like, ooh, that's really cool. I wonder if I could emulate that or take some of that and apply it to my own music and my own style. And that will provide some inspiration and motivation, because then you're like, ooh, I can do this.
Yeah, and like, along with that, if you had a specific thing or subject that inspired the song in the first place, maybe take a step back from the production side of it and just engage in that media that originally inspired the song. That might help you move the process along.
Absolutely. I definitely want to echo that if you feel stuck, sometimes it's good to take a step back, give yourself a breather, allow your mind to rest, or maybe like have it sitting in the back of your head. Oftentimes, I'll have song ideas that sit in the back of my head for such a long time before I actually sit down and do it, just to allow that time for it to settle and to be in the right mindset to be creative. Because if you get stuck in that, if you get stuck, then it's hard to force yourself out. Sometimes you just have to let go.
And sometimes the inspiration can hit you at a random time because your subconscious is working on it. Like there's so many times where I'm like stuck on a track, I'll stop for the day, go about my daily stuff, and then all of a sudden while I'm driving or taking a shower, I'm like, oh wait, there's an idea. And I'll hear it in my head and be like, oh, I can do that. And then it'll help you get your motivation back.
All right.
I saw that hand.
You had a question?
So I was kind of wondering, like, when making like Brony music, like, I mean, how does like, because like my lyrics, like, you can't really like say the names of like copyright characters, right? And then try to sell it, the song, right?
It's a bit of a gray area.
You know how I said that all Brony musicians are pirates?
Yarhar.
Yeah. There are some. Yes, theoretically, Hasbro, if you mention any copyrightable material or characters, could march in here and give you a cease and desist, and you go banished to the Shadow Realm. The good news is that Hasbro has been wholly, mostly uninterested in Brony musicians.
They've mostly gone after the animators due to emulating their style too closely, which is a copyright infringement. As for the songs, it's a little bit of a gray area due to like just the creative process that's used. Like, yeah, it has this idea, but like that doesn't. If you create something wholly new out of it, then like it's a gray area.
Yeah, otherwise remixes wouldn't be a thing.
And suing is expensive, so like if it's a gray area, they probably won't bother.
Yeah. Plus, if that was a much bigger danger, then the Brony fandom would not have thrived as much as it has.
Yeah.
We would not be here.
Music would not be thousands of songs deep.
I think we got time for one more question.
So just kind of follow up. Is there any instance of a musician getting a cease and desist order?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, like,
off the top of my head.
I know, like, Jan Animations, had the big cease and desist due to Button Mash.
That wasn't music.
Yeah, that wasn't music, but there was original music involved with that. Don't Mind at Night, I think. But that song is, Dude does it in his shows sometimes. That's a parody, that's true. That's true. I can't think off the top of my head of any songs that were straight up cease and desisted by Hasbro, unless it was just a straight up upload from like the show.
All right. Any last question?
Although compilation albums, they do have a caveat where if you use show samples or stuff like that, direct audio from the show, they can't put it on Spotify.
It depends a bit on like which album and which distributor, and if they get lucky with the submission process. But yeah,
that's true. Okay, that's true.
Like Equinity at least still has problems. I think Ponies at Dawn has gotten a bit luckier nowadays than they did back in the day. Back in the day, like some tracks also had like just a different version Spotify with less samples.
Yeah.
This will be our last question.
Do you think it's better to sit down, like for example, the DAW, or sit down with an idea before you start, or just mess around until you find something?
I'm gonna.
Yes.
I have something to say, but I'm gonna let them go first because they actually do more like after song production, and then I'll speak from again an instrumentalist perspective.
I've done both. I'm like I said, I'm the kind of person who ruminates. I have song ideas that sit in my head for months, sometimes years, and then I start writing it. And then sometimes I'm just like, I want to use the rubber chicken sound, and then or like yesterday, hey, we're gonna make a song about Rainbow Dash and its existential dread, you know.
And it became an anti-war song.
And it became an anti-war song.
Yeah, with some jazz.
With a jazz element. That was a fun.
I sadly missed that panel.
No man, it was.
Well, when we eventually
I will upload it to my
potentially
YouTube channel later, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna polish that one. I want to do that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I do both as well. There's sometimes I'm just like, ooh, this instrument sounds cool. I wonder what I can do with this. And then I just sort of mess around until I come up with something that I really like, and then I build an entire track around that. But then there's also times where I'm like, I want to write this specific genre, this specific character theme, this specific idea, and then I'll flesh it out as I go.
Now, for me, it's a little bit of both, but it's primarily the latter because most of what I do is accompaniment and solos. And for solos, I need to, come up with something for the song. And so I sort of just mess about on my horn until I find something that kind of like works, and then I improve on it from there, and eventually I get something I really like. That's how the Brony saxophone noises solo came to be, and this is what it's like. It's how I did the stuff with TPF. It kind of just is the product of being an instrumentalist doing like improv. It's kind of comes with the territory. We do it on the spot.
Yep. Alrighty, we are out of time. Thank you all for coming to this panel, and and make sure to say hi to us during the con.
Yeah. I'll be around with this thing. You can ask me to play things, and I will probably play it if I know it.
Very good. Thank you.
Take a bow.
It's all right.
I just did a double check. Fortunately, the Pony Archive has a snapshot of the Pony Music Archive. So
that's awesome.
There is a bunch of old stuff that you got to do a lot of digging, but it is not entirely lost yet.
All right, Pony Music Archive is not quite dead yet, sort of.
Not dead yet?
It's mostly dead.
Not dead yet.
Yeah.